Okay, so let's talk about Dev Patel's directorial debut, Monkey Man. We already have a review for that. If you want to check out the review, go check it out over on the channel. We got all of that where we talk about the film, what we thought about it, all of that. There's definitely a lot to discuss as well for this film, and we got to get into some spoilers for it because I'm very curious to see how you all felt about certain scenes and all of that, because there's so many of these moments in the film that I think just transcend, and there's other moments where I feel like they are kind of too stagnant for my liking. We are funding our own short film. Go check it out in the description down below if you want to check that seed and spark that we have up for our horror short film we're trying to do this summer. And also, less than 2,000 away from 30,000. We're about to hit 29,000. We're going to have a giveaway at 29,000. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. But let's get into Monkey Man, the whole movie and its ending. And of course, let's get into the beginning of the movie because we got to go through everything before we get to the end. So this film follows Dev Patel and his character named Kid. And the character of Kid is sort of in this underground fight club of sorts where he wears like a monkey mask and things like that. And he lets himself get beat up to sort of beef up the bigger dudes and all of that. And it's just they're more of a punching bag than anything. This is all led by Sharlto Copley's character of Tiger, who is playing this very eccentric ring promoter. Imagine like the WWE ring promoters times 100, and they're just down here in this very like basement-esque, really underground fight arena that's just so secretive and all of that. And the people are waging big bets and stuff like this. And some of the fighters are getting a little bit too hurt. Honestly, that was one of the best parts about the movie, is how they set all of this up. And I'm very curious about a movie that just revolved around this underground ring fight club of sorts, because those were the parts of the film that felt the most kinetic and honestly the most energy, and something focused around that. I think there's something there as well. That's not saying that the whole story as a whole is bad for me, but I just really vibe with those moments a bit more than some of the other parts of the movie, and that's just due to the fact that way that it was edited and stuff like that. But I'll get more of that in a bit. Dev Patel's character of Kid is looking for something else. He is wanting to infiltrate this very high exclusive club of sorts that's ran by this political, almost godlike figure to some. That figure is Baba Shakti, and Baba Shakti is basically like the top of the whole government here and all of that, and everybody is like worshiping them, and they're at the very high part of the building. And Dev Patel also talked about this during a talk I went to at South by Southwest, that they were basically like inspired by The Raid and movies like that, where you got to fight your way up all the way to the top before you get to the boss, which is this character here. Now, below this character is a character that is a little bit more personal for Kid and wanting to get revenge, and that is Rana, who is basically the police chief and almost the untouchable one in the city besides Baba Shakti. And Rana is this character that Kid remembers from their past, and we see it through flashbacks that they pretty much were the ones that murdered their mother and took all of the land with the officers and the government and everything where they lived. And that's why Kid has held this grudge all of these years and has tried to muster up a plan in order to take out Rana as well as Baba Shakti, with the caste system in India being so bad. And that's something that Dev Patel also talked about, is that there was this whole thing about really portraying the culture and everything around it right now. Now, I will not really get into the politics and all of that for the film in itself. I'm just going to go over the basic story of sorts, because I think that there is something that I'm not able to really speak about myself. So I will link below another writer that talked more about this, because I think they explain a little bit well and just how muddled the politics can be in this movie. The writer Siddhant Alaka below, I think explained it a little bit better than I can. So just a fair warning, not really going to get into the politics the movie talks about, just the basic story beats. So what we eventually see is that through this whole thing and this orchestration at the beginning of finding somebody's wallet, because they steal the wallet at the beginning and then find it for Queenie, who is basically like the front door type before they get into the whole like big system, is this high-end club where the elite go, Rana and all of that. So what happens is that Kid gets basically like some friends to do this for him, to take the wallet and all of that, and then he'll eventually find it and bring it back to them, ask for a job, and start at the bottom and work their way up so that they can become a waiter and infiltrate where Rana and these henchmen are all being at this higher end club with like these sex workers and things like that. And so Queenie at first doesn't really want to give Kid the job. Eventually they do, and we see that Kid starts to work his way a little bit more up, making friends with some of the people that can get him into this club, one of these characters. And we see eventually that he persuades one of the characters to give him a chance of being a waiter at the high-end club by letting them know the outcome of a fight in the fight he's going to be in when he's still doing like the Monkey Man thing. And his whole thing with the Monkey Man thing is Hanuman, who is this character that is like half monkey, half man. They fight for everybody and all of that. And so that's his whole like shtick here. And he's pretty much like, hey, come down to the ring and bet on this outcome and you're going to win big. Eventually the person does. And so they're basically like, all right, you made me this money. I'll give you a chance. Come be a waiter at the high-end club where all of these people are at. And Rana, of course, is going to be there. He eventually has to find a way to get a weapon in here to use against Rana. And the way he does this is by trading a dog to come over and bring the weapon, because they can't really bring it through the front, but the dog's able to go through the alleyways and he's able to bring this gun. We eventually see that he is making progress in his plan to take down Rana, but then they get into this fight in the restroom and all hell breaks loose because everybody is wondering what's going on and they're trying to evacuate the building and all of this. And of course, Kid is not prepared. This is just we're not even at the first half of the film. We didn't think Kid was going to actually beat Rana right here. And we see that Kid has to retreat, find a way out, and they're on the run now. They eventually get totaled and they are trying to escape now from the police as they are trying to pretty much get away from everything that's happening, and they eventually fall into the water. They eventually are saved by this sage called Alpha, as well as these transgender women who are pretty much in hiding. And we see as Kid is now trying to recuperate, get better, to go out and take on Rana. And what we see is that they're not ready, so they train with the sage, with the transgender woman there as well, and eventually build up enough of this strength and enough of this wisdom and channel all of that rage that they had as they get these flashbacks again. And quick side note, I just thought that there is too many flashbacks in this movie at times, because I was like, okay, we understand all of this, why this is happening and all of that, but I just feel a lot of it is trying to keep you engaged, but I feel like that's sort of saying that the audience wasn't going to be engaged, and it kind of is trying to hold your hand a little bit too much. And I'm just like, okay, you can let go of my hand, I understand, but that's just a little bit of a minor gripe I had with the movie, was too much flashbacks. But we get these flashbacks of what happened. We see Rana and the destruction that they caused and everything that happened because of them when they came and took Kid's land where he lived, and everybody else there had to flee, and their mother actually got killed by the hands of Rana. And now we know why Kid is so determined to destroy Rana and everything about that, from the whole club and everything, because he saw that symbol that Rana was holding when he was a child of the club. So they're pretty much bent on destroying all of this. And we see that now the Kid is ready. They eventually go back into this club. They get everything ready. They start to set up all of these explosives, things like that, so that there is no way out of this building. And as they climb the ranks, they start defeating everybody. And it's very much so still all like bare knuckle. It's trying to be scrappy with it, and it works almost like a video game. Like I said at the beginning, that Patel was very inspired by films where you gotta climb your way up to fight the bosses. At the first half of the film, we saw Dev Patel climb it too fast and eventually fall all the way back down, but now they're a bit stronger, wiser, and they know what they're doing. We see them go through all of these levels. They defeat the henchmen all around, and they eventually get to the very top where they take on Rana now, and they see this as the ultimate fight right here. And right before they fight there's all of these henchmen that come in, and they're like, you're not getting through all of this. We eventually see that Kid did not come alone, as the transgender women, the ones that were Sage, Alpha, are here now, and we get one of the best sequences of 2024, let me tell you, because it is a fight scene with all of these characters going at it back and forth, and a metal song is just blasting and blaring, and I am just so excited to rewatch this again because it's one of my favorite scenes of the whole year so far. It is just so intense and incredible. But we basically see as a help out Kid, so the sex worker that he had become a little bit acquainted with at the beginning, and he sort of wanted to help as well. Sita comes in and helps take down Queenie, just when it looked like Queenie was about to take down Kid. And we see as Kid eventually goes after Rana, and they got it back and forth going. Very much so one of those scenes where you're just rooting and rooting for Kid. Like, you know, deep down, the Kid's gonna win, but you're still like, I want Kid to win right now. We eventually see the back and forth. I will say the action is brutal. It's in your face. It very much so lands hard, and that's exactly what I wanted from this film to be. And we see as they eventually do defeat Rana, but there's still one more villain at the very top, and that is Baba Shakti. And we see as Kid goes up there, he's pretty hurt at this point, and I don't know what's going to happen, right? I am rooting for Kid, but we see Kid is hurt. Baba Shakti, of course, looks well equipped to take on Kid if they have to, but they're playing this like meat card, and we eventually see that Baba Shakti's like, you know, whatever you need to do, it's gonna be on you. And then we see as he pulls out this blade and he pretty much like stabs Kid, and I was just like, that's it, it's over, right? But Kid manages to get the blade and kill Baba Shakti before the ride can come and pick him up. And then we see that Kid is too badly hurt and just eventually collapses, and the movie ends right there. They were able to get everybody, but Kid themselves are gone now, it seems. Now the big question is Monkey Man 2. Are we gonna get a Monkey Man 2? I mean, we've seen other things be pulled from movies where the character seemingly died and that's it. I will say that during the South by Southwest talk that Dev Patel gave the next day that we attended, he did say pretty much Kid went to heaven. He achieved the next highest level and went to heaven, and that was it. But you know, the way studios work, Universal's one of those studios that I just don't think will let it go if this movie goes on to make bank, and I feel like they would just want to see something else. I'm not entirely sure where the film can go from here, but from what I've gathered, this is definitely the end of Monkey Man for sure, because we saw Monkey Man have this whole thing against the force that took his mother's life as well as their land and where they lived, basically destabilized his whole life, and he had to go out there and get retribution and revenge. And he also helps these like transgender community go back out and be seen again and get out of the shadows as well. Show them that they don't have to live in fear in this caste system that has been so horrible to so many people. And I think that definitely is a full circle moment right there, right? We get these people that were in hiding. We get this underdog who tried at the beginning, failed, almost died, and had to come back to life and re-figure out how to channel all of their energy before they could go back out there and take on these bosses that had been stomping on everybody and basically literally looking down on all of these people and bring them back down to earth. And I think that we saw he eventually does this. He goes all the way to the top of the building, almost in the sky, to fight this godlike figure and comes out victorious, but it cost him everything, and that is his life. And I think that is one of the most prophetic endings to the film we've gotten. And like I said, I don't want to really talk about the politics and all of that because I don't think my understanding of it can be as thorough and comprehensive as somebody who knows more about this. Like I said, I'll leave the writer who wrote about it and got more into the politics and just a little bit of how muddled they might be in the movie in the description down below. But I just am speaking from the basic story beats of it. So that's my thoughts and my opinions, but I thought it was a cool movie, honestly. And the way that they do it, like I said, the whole video game tier system, where the way you're just going up this like building and fighting all of these enemies before you eventually get to the main boss, I think that was such a cool way to do it. So I'm excited to see what Dev Patel does next. During the South by Southwest talk he did right after, he talked about doing a horror. He talked about doing maybe something a little bit lighter, romance, things like that. So I'm excited to see what he's got cooked up next, whether it's sci-fi and all of that. But let me know what you thought about Monkey Man, if you liked it or not, and if you want to talk more about it, we definitely can, because there's a lot of story that Dev Patel talked about it during the filming of the movie and everything, because there was a ton of things that happened. But we'll talk more about it if you want, but stay tuned for our first Omen and the Explained and review coming out later today as well. And also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. At 29,000, we are doing a giveaway. If you don't want to miss out on that giveaway, make sure you're subscribed, all that good stuff. And also, we are funding our own short horror film right now on Seed and Spark in the description down below, so go check that out. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.